with a number of arts and social change organizations. We are so thrilled that you're here, and you're joined by your colleague, Karen Chi, who is going to be supporting you. Can you please applaud for both of them? Excellent. Could you tell us, Jeffrey, about the work of the Asian American Writers Workshop?
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thank you both for inviting us here, and thank you everybody for being here. Happy Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, the month where everybody remembers Asians. We remember Asians year-round, but it's always nice to get a little highlight of the year. The Asian American Writers Workshop was founded in 1991. We were really founded by 4 friends who could not find a home in literary spaces in New York City. And so with the entrepreneurial Asian spirit that we all know and love, they formed one of their own. It was really in a basement in St. Mark's Place where the origins of the organization started. And it was literally 4 friends reading and writing and creating art together. Since then we've grown. We're one of the large, I think the largest national organization dedicated to Asian American literature and artistry. We work with writers at every stage of their career. I like to throw out fun facts. Juba Lahiri hosted her first book party at the workshop. Min Jin Lee, Kathy Park Hong, and Lisa Ko all took a class during their formative years taught by Juba at the workshop. And that was when they were baby writers who were just learning their craft, and they've remained members of our community since. So we have a real dynamic roster of programming. We have fellowships, we have public events. I think we have one of the most active event series in the country. We do about 75 events a year, sometimes more. And really we serve most importantly as a really critical sanctuary space for Asian American writers and artists who can come and be as they are and create the art that they want to make and not have to worry about, being tokenized or needing to be a certain way. They can just be who they are, which is what we aim to provide.
That's incredible. I was just reading a New York Magazine article about Corky Lee, another famous Chinatown resident who has done a lot for the Asian American community. And the writer actually references her being at the Asian American Writers Workshop and how it helped her to build her craft. So that's pretty incredible to go from the Writers Workshop to New Yorker, to writing in the New Yorker about someone like Corky Lee. That's really incredible. So I really think that the work that you're doing is impactful. What do you think Asian Americans, what are the challenges you think that Asian Americans specifically face as writers? And why is that a space like Asian American Writers Workshop so important?
I think one challenge is that there's no such thing as the great Asian American novel because the demographics of the community are so vast. So it's not possible to have one book or one movie or one type of artist be truly representative for the community as much as one wants to try. So I think the role of an organization like ours is to, we operate from a really radically inclusive ethos, and that's intentional to make sure that all communities of Asia are equally welcomed in our space and as Asian American artists, everybody from, East Asia to the Middle East. There's a lot in between that I think often gets left out of like an Asian American conversation. And so, which is the challenge that we work every day to try to mitigate by really calling everybody in.
Karen?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I also feel like one of the challenges is just inherent to the challenge of being a writer, which is that it's often such a solitary job that you have to do, and you have to spend a lot of time alone to try and make whatever thing you're trying to create. And that's where like the workshop and Jeffreen's work really comes in strong, because it's not, the Asian American Writers Workshop is not just an institution, but it's also like a wonderful community, and it's very vibrant, it's very diverse, and I think as a writer, just just knowing that there's a group like that that exists that is going to welcome you, you're more excited to do your work.
So, literature in America is in part an industry that with some major corporate players. What do you see in this industry that gives you hope, and what do you see that needs to change with respect to Asian American representation and voices?
Wow, light question. Yeah. I think in terms of what needs to, I'll start with what's giving me hope. There's been a lot of really tough conversations within the publishing industry about the structural inequities that exist. I mean, I think there was a survey from a few years ago where 90% of employees in the publishing industry are white. So these are the people that are deciding which books get published. These are the people that are deciding, books, people don't realize, books don't accidentally make it to bestseller lists. There's an industry behind it of which books get marketing, support, which books get business support from the industries. And so when the demographics look nothing like the community of America, that skews what gets published and what doesn't. But I think there have been a lot of tough conversations, and something that gives me hope is there's been a lot of really critical hires at top levels in the industry of not just Asian Americans, but people of color in general. And it's a long game. It doesn't happen right away, but I think we've already seen some impact of that. I'll just give one quick anecdote. There is an executive editor at one of the Penguin Random House imprints, one of the largest publishing houses, who was appointed a couple years ago. And traditionally in publishing, if you want to get published, you need to have an agent, and your agent introduces you to your editor, and it's a very kind of gate-kept process. This person was put in this role and immediately knew he wanted to find a way to bypass that. He was like, this is creating inequity. What can we do to meet young writers of color, people who don't have access to an agent, people who don't have access to this traditional pathway? And he reached out to me, and he said, somebody that I've known for a long time, and he said, what can we do about this? And so we set up a pitch session that now takes place every year, where our fellows, who are some of the best and brightest writers in the country, get to pitch their work to top levels of Penguin Random House directly. And we've had people find their editors and find their agents from pitch sessions like that. So what gives me hope is having people in those roles. It's not necessarily about burning everything down. It's just as much about who's making these decisions to begin with and having the right people in those roles. And the challenge is that it takes time. It's not fast, it's not quick, it's not overnight, but it's important work that we're working on, and that we hope to kind of continue to see change from.
Did you want Karen? Yes.
Oh, I'll just talk. I mean, this was so beautifully said. I keep forgetting I'm supposed to talk also. I echo everything you just said. I would say the other thing I'd want to add is something that I find so hopeful when I see the community of Asian American writers and also people in the industry who are working to help support writers, is that it's a community that doesn't just look inward, but also looks outward and is very willing to be vocal and hold hands with other groups, and calling for Black Lives Matter, calling for ceasefire in Gaza, calling for whoever needs activism at that point. And I think that's that makes me feel like it's a really relevant group that everybody is listening to and understands that all voices are important, not just ours.
One final question for you. This is going to be a hard one. Who are your favorite Asian American writers today? And can you please recommend books that we should read that we might not know about?
I just read one recently that I really loved. I think it came out last year. Four Treasures in the Sky by Jenny Tingley Zhang is excellent. There's also another novelist with the same last name named Si Pan Zhang, she's written two books that were both phenomenal.
Okay, say that again because I don't know if we heard. So,
Four Treasures in the Sky.
Four Treasures in the
And
Sky.
then the other one is How Much of These Hills is Gold? Yes.
And the author is?
The first one is written by Jenny Taylor-Jean, and the second one is written by C. Pam Jean.
Okay, great.
I will add to that. Ayad Akhtar is a playwright who I think creates work that is beautiful and thought-provoking and really adds layers to the Muslim American experience. A recent book that came out last year, one of my favorite books of last year was actually a memoir by Hua Shu.
Oh, yes!
Really good, highly recommended. And more recently, there is a really beautiful collection of poems by Sarah Ghazal Ali, a Palestinian poet who I would also recommend. There's so many more, but
I need to put in a plug for Kathy Park Hall because her book shook me.
Yeah.
It was so good.
That was like, I feel like a moment. Yeah, I felt like every Asian American woman was reading, and
I
felt
bought
like
it for everyone.
Yeah.
It was so good.
I didn't get my copy as a member.
We will get you a copy, and we need to have her come here next time.
She's such a great speaker too. Yeah,
She's-
she'd be fantastic.
and she took classes at the workshop.
Thank you, Jeffrey Ludine, Karen Chi, Asian